You're listening to Planet Vero Radio, 1370 AM, 107.9 FM, Real Radio, 101.7 FM, and of course, heard worldwide on iHeartMedia. I'm Donna Roberts-Mitchell, and with me in the studio today is Bob Perry. He is the president of the affiliation of the Guardian Ad Litem, and that is for the Voice for Children in Okeechobee and the Treasure Coast. Welcome, Bob.
Well, thank you.
And you are a Guardian Ad Litem yourself, correct?
That's correct.
All right, so tell me a little bit about what is a Guardian Ad Litem.
Well, a Guardian Ad Litem, which translated means a guardian for the suit, is a court-appointed volunteer who advocates for the best interest of a child who has been abused, abandoned, or neglected, and as a result is under court supervision. Now, sometimes the child is placed with a relative caregiver. Some remain in their home, but many have to be placed in individual foster care homes or in group foster homes. And
so what is the role of the Guardian Ad Litem?
Well, a Guardian Ad Litem is appointed by a judge to be the eyes and ears of the court, quote unquote. Judges have even been heard to say that the Guardian Ad Litem's voice is the one they most want to hear because we are unpaid volunteers, we have no agenda, and because our focus is strictly on the child and his or her best interest, we know that child's needs and desires probably better than anyone else in that courtroom. If not for the Guardian Ad Litem, the child would not have a voice in the proceedings. Some are too young to advocate for themselves, and others perhaps too fearful. And that's why the program was started by a judge many years ago. The child is generally the most innocent party, and yet is potentially the most affected by the judge's decision. But to take it a step further, Donna, while every case is different, the Guardian Ad Litem often becomes much more than the child's voice in court. We're often the only consistent adult presence in that child's life. I can think of many cases personally, but they are legion. A trusted friend, a mentor, a positive example of life's possibilities. If the child is struggling, for example, academically, we will meet with teachers and guidance counselors. If they happen to have a special interest in music or sports or entertainment, we may choose to bring them to a game or a free concert or even just a movie. But always we are looking for opportunities to bring a higher degree of what's called normalcy into their lives. And if there are things that many of us consider everyday needs, but for which there is, no other source of funding, like a baseball mitt, for example, we will contact our nonprofit for financial assistance.
So how does your nonprofit help in these situations?
Well, the nonprofit is called Voices for Children of Okeechobee and the Treasure Coast. The primary mission is to raise money for the Guardian Ad Litem program to recruit and train enough volunteers for every child to have a Guardian Ad Litem. And that's because a child with a Guardian Ad Litem is half as likely to languish in foster care and that much more likely to find a safe, stable, permanent home. In addition, he or she will do much better in school, is more likely to be adopted, will spend less time in foster care, have fewer foster placements, and receive more needed services.
Wow, that's awful, wonderful accomplishment.
Well, it can be a life changer. And but there's also more. That is the primary mission. Every child should have an advocate. But when a child needs one of those, quote unquote, closer to normalcy things like a new mattress or a prom dress, a cap and gown for graduation, money to help a summer camp, or any number of other things that some of us take for granted, Voices for Children will make every effort to prioritize and meet that immediate need over the recruitment and training of volunteers. The nonprofit is also comprised of volunteers, and it has almost no administrative overhead. So virtually every dollar they raise goes to benefit the children, either directly through their immediate needs or indirectly by recruiting guardians for kids who don't yet have one.
And the Voices for Children of Okeechobee and the Treasure Coast is what you are the president of.
That's correct.
And not only are you the president of that, but you also act as a Guardian Ad Litem.
I do, along with my wife.
Wonderful. Well, now, how many kids are in the system locally? And what are the percentage, that some will be without a Guardian Ad Litem?
Yeah, that's a great question. In our 19th Judicial Circuit, which includes Indian River County, St. Lucie County, Martin, and Okeechobee as well, there are about 800 to 1,000 children assigned to the Guardian Ad Litem program at any given time. Almost 1 in 5 still needs a guardian.
Wow.
Yeah. Statewide, the number is actually higher. About 30% of the 25,000 kids in the system are still waiting for that voice and that friend and advocate.
Well, we got to do better than that.
We're trying.
What are the obligations of a guardian ad litem?
Yeah, there are actually three primary obligations. The first is the guardian has to visit with the child every 30 days at least. It can be more often, but it's got to be every 30. And then we enter notes in the program's online system on what we have learned and observed. And then last, we have to attend all mandatory hearings. And for any given case, that typically is about 3 or 4 per year.
Do you need any special education or background or qualifications to be a guardian ad litem?
Yeah, that's a question we get often. Not really, no. Guardians ad litem come with all types and levels of education. And as for qualifications, they simply have to be 21 years of age and be able to pass a background check.
What about training?
Yeah, every guardian ad litem is required to undergo about 30 hours of training, which is provided by the program before they are certified. Some of that training is online, while the rest is in a classroom setting at the program's office in Port St. Lucie. Although it's possible that we will be relocating to Fort Pierce, closer to the courthouse, in the near future.
And why would someone want to do this work, Bob?
Well, selfishly speaking, there are at least 2 reasons: purpose and reward. We all need a reason for getting up in the morning. I once heard a pastor say that maybe you can't change the world, but we can all change the world of one person. The Guardian Ad Litem program offers us that kind of purpose, and the rewards can far outweigh any investment of time. To know that you've helped move a child from feeling worthless to feeling fully worthy, or from despair to genuine hope, or from academic failure to college aspirations, is really a blessing that's very difficult to match.
Wow.
Anywhere else.
I agree. What drove you to become a guardian ad litem?
Donna, it started for me with entering retirement, having achieved a measure of financial security, and then having the time and the desire to act on one of my really deepest convictions, which is that every child enters this world innocent and blameless, precious and deserving of love, encouragement, and opportunity. And not some, all. But not all kids get those foundational necessities and instead become innocent victims. And because kids tend to define themselves in terms of how they are treated by grown-ups, they will even blame themselves for the abuse or neglect that they live with, like somehow it's their own fault.
Oh, that's so true.
But I was one of the lucky ones, whose parents loved unconditionally, and I've never for a minute had to wonder if anyone out there really cared. I don't feel guilty about that. I just got what all kids deserve. But I understand what a difference that kind of stability makes in a kid's life, and I feel and I embrace a responsibility to maybe, realign the stars or alter the future prospects of a kid who, let's face it, might just as easily have been me and just need someone to take an interest. I advocated for a teenage girl for 2 years who at first didn't know how she was going to get through the day. And now she's well on her way to a very bright future. She recently texted that she never would have grown as a better person without me and my wife. And I was able to tell her with absolute sincerity that her growth is our reward and that it is precious to us.
Well, I heard you speak recently at a chamber event, and I was so moved by what you said, and that was basically what you did say. And that's why I wanted to have you on the program, because it sounds like it's a perfect way for somebody who is out there listening that wants to make a difference in somebody's world can do that, and they're needed. They're very much needed. So how can the average person help kids who have been abused and neglected? Well,
there are 3 main options, I guess, in answer to your question. The first, of course, is to become a guardian ad litem, a volunteer child advocate. And calling the program's offices is the best way to start. And honestly, no one should be hesitant to make that call because there is no hard sell. There has to be the right fit for both the volunteer and the program. And that number is 772-785-5804. The second is ask us to come and speak to your group. Civic and fraternal organizations, newcomers clubs, HOAs. We love opportunities to raise awareness of what we do and its importance to the kids and ultimately to the community and to society. And the last and perhaps most important, at least from the nonprofit standpoint, is donate. whether as an individual or if you happen to be a business owner or know of a business owner who is looking for a terrific cause to get behind. Donations can be made to our nonprofit through its website, Voices for Children. It's all spelled out, Voices for Children, OTC.org. And the OTC is for Okeechobee Treasure Coast. We are looking to raise about $50,000 this year to cover both volunteer recruiting expenses and the kids' immediate needs. And all donations are tax deductible.
Well, Bob Perry, I want to thank you so much for coming into the studio and telling us all about the Guardian Ad Litem program and its nonprofit, the Voices for Children of Okeechobee and the Treasure Coast, of which you are the president. And God bless you for the good work that you do in our community.
Well, thank you for so much. I mean, it's really terrific that you had us, and it was very gracious, and we really appreciate it.
You want more information? Give that number again, Bob.
The number is 772-785-5804.
Or you can call us here at Planet Vero Radio, and we'll get you that information. Stay tuned.